I always encourage exercise and fitness, but it's really kind of doing the right things and rehabbing the recovery and exercise and all those things that play into it. And so that's why we've really built another part of the academy is an actual like proprietary algorithm that we've come up that we've tested with a lot of athletes to see like what their numbers are, because more than just using, this is a good exercise that I like, what does the actual science and data show, and how does that relate to hunters? And so that's what's so cool, I think, about this Mountain Physio Academy as well, is the masterclass covers all that. And so we're really trying to be scientific. And so in this class, in this healthcare platform, this course, people will get some information that I think ultimately what I want to do is I want to give everyone the science and the literature so that they can understand.
What is going on, guys? Hope you are excited about this episode of the podcast. I got to bring Preston on where he's discussing his new launch. He's going to have some awesome techniques for you to go over online. He's going to have a great program that you can train year round to make sure you stay on the mountain, make sure you stay nimble, limber, whatever word you want to describe to mean basically ready for the mountains. Preston is going to have a bunch of different options available. Highly recommend you go and check out Mount Physio. I'm going to leave the links down below for all of his website, his Instagram, all the information he's putting out there. But guys, he's doing great things. He wants you to succeed, and so do I. So that's why I brought Preston on. I'm excited to have this information out for you and your friends. Share it with other people. Also, guys, this podcast is brought to you by Black Ovis. Go check them out. Right now is the time to get your gear so you can start testing it for whether it be spring bear, whether it be camping trips here in the summer, the springtime, or your fall trips coming up. Right now is the time to start tinkering, messing around with your gear so that you can get the best quality and know your gear by the time you need to actually use it and rely on it. So go check out Black Ovis, code REDBEARD10 to save 10% on your order. Also, use the link down below so we can make sure you guys are taken care of in that category. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. Subscribe, leave a comment down below, and remember, we are going to give away a bow, a fully built out bow with all the accessories that I use once we hit 10,000 subscribers. So let's go subscribe, leave a comment down below. Questions you have for me, questions you've got for Preston. Enjoy this conversation. And of course, get out, live your life, and love it. Welcome back, everyone, to the Redbeard Outdoors podcast. I've got an outstanding guest for you guys. Preston here. He is Mount Physio on Instagram, Facebook, wherever else you may see him. He's my favorite physical therapist, guys. That's saying a lot because I've worked with a lot of physical therapists. As you may know, I was trying to get into that field. Didn't go so well, so I went a different route. Preston's obviously outstanding at what he does. He works with the USA Archery team. He's got so many other people under his belt that he works with and keeps them in the field hunting, and he lives by the standards that he preaches. So with that being said, Preston's just a good overall individual. But if you have any questions, I'm going to say go to Preston for anything that you need to keep yourself in the field with your bow. Even if you don't shoot archery, go to Preston if you got any issues nagging you. So before we get into any more into that, Preston, who are you for people that don't know who you are?
I'm very kind of you. I appreciate compliments like that. So,
Well, us gingers got to stick together, man.
Exactly. No, I appreciate that a lot. And I do feel really, lucky, blessed, whatever you want to call it, for establishing Mountain Physio. This year, actually, which is exciting, we are diving into our 5th year. So really in about a month, I think I opened doors in 2019. It was right around February, March. And so pretty exciting that we started, this practice 5 years ago. And so anyways, big moments for us. But my name's Preston. So I'm a doctor of physical therapy here in Salt Lake City. I do the majority of my work, I'll say, virtually as well. So I do a lot of online virtual consultations, which is really fun. Right now we're building up our team. So we have multiple therapists across the country as well. And then what's been really fun this last year is diving into, as the brand has grown itself, uh, really diving into international and treating athletes internationally. So all from like Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, everywhere across the globe and stuff. And so that's my vision for Mtn Physio is to be this world leader as far as physical therapy, interventions, rehab training, things like that, injury prevention for hunters and stuff. So that's a little bit about me. I guess I grew up hunting my whole life. I I think people call it adult onset hunting. I am not an adult onset hunter. I've been hunting since I was 2 years old, really riding on the back of mules and everything, and that's been really fun. And so grew up here in Salt Lake hunting, married, have a little girl, have some dogs, have some mules, and life's good. I can't complain. Life's really good.
Oh, and I mean, you forgot a big thing too. You and your wife have both killed a buffalo
Yeah, yeah,
or a bison.
exactly. A bison, yeah,
That's pretty
bison,
outstanding.
bison.
You know?
Yeah, we were lucky. I was lucky. I couldn't believe it when I drew. So in Utah, there's the sportsman's tag, which is basically they give away one sportsman's tag per species in Utah for like your limited entry, once in a lifetimes, everything else like that. So I drew this, and then on that same year, so 2 or 3 years ago, 3 years this year, I drew with archery, and it was my dream hunt. And so I drew that, the sportsman's tag. That same year, it sold for $80,000 for the governor's tag, which is the same. So I won an $80,000 hunt, which was incredible. And like, it was so fun. And so shot a bison with my bow. And then, yeah, we just got back. We were at the Hunt Expo last year, and my wife drew a bison hunt. And so we went on a bison hunt. And yeah, we keep saying that, like, not many couples can say they both shot bison. And I will say, if you do get the chance, don't turn it down, because it's amazing. They're amazing animals. I love bison. They're so fun. They're so cool. They're just kind of mean. They're kind of got their own like little quirks about hunting them and stuff. And I'll tell you, my wife's hunt from my hunt was completely different, but it was still so much fun. And actually, really talking about that, we're gonna do a whole YouTube video on that and stuff like that, and share some clips and stuff. But as a husband and wife, it was really fun to do it, and it was fun to see her actually get excited about hunting. And so now I said, you want to do any other hunting? She's like, yeah, I think I do. And I'm like, cool, you got some points already. I've already been putting you in behind your back, like, so you already got a couple points, like. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, don't worry, you got your once in a lifetime, you got your antelope, you got your deer points. She's like, oh man. So anyway, she's excited though, and for me, it's exciting because I really live off of. I love the chase for a lot of reasons. I love it for the fitness side of things, especially. That's one of the main reasons. The adventure and everything else like that. But a lot of it's probably for that, those trophy picks of people holding the back straps. Like, the meat for sure is a staple for us in our marriage and everything that we've lived off of. And so for her to start hunting and kind of take that load off of me, it's going to be kind of nice.
Oh yeah. No, I bet. That's outstanding. And honestly, like you were saying, most couples can I would say most couples can't even say that one person has shot a buffalo,
It's true.
or bison, whatever people
Yeah.
prefer. I always mix them up. They're kind of interchangeable, but not really. If you
Yeah.
if you delve into it, the
Yeah.
bison's better because it's American. And
Yeah,
but
Steve Rinella's book,
mm,
American Bison, American Buffalo, American Bison.
yeah.
I think it's one of those. Anyways, it's
Yeah.
super good. This is a really good book.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, with that being said, Preston is just, again, guys, he is someone who he's a great individual, lives the lifestyle, loves being outdoors, loves shooting his bow. We were actually, and I always regret not recording ahead of time, but we were delving into arrow setups, and just, it's funny because, like, if you don't know anything about arrows, and I was thinking about this, like 3 years ago, even, if I had sat down and listened to the conversation that we had just before this, I'd have been like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what is this? And now we're talking about glue ends versus screw ends, and 5 millimeter, 4 millimeter, iron will evolution, all these other broadheads out there, and what we prefer and why we prefer it. And oh man, it's always fun to chit chat about that. But we're gonna kind of steer towards, I guess, first off, I want to highlight for people physical therapy, and now it's technically, or I can't say technically, it's a doctorate degree. It's a clinical doctorate of physical therapy, or DPT. And so that's at least 3 years of school on top of your bachelor's degree. And so, physical therapists, yes, they may seem like they're putting you through some torturous things every once in a while and they like pain, etc. But the good physical therapists stand out because they get results for their clients, and they also help people stay active doing what they want to do. They'll actually ask you the questions instead of just kind of rolling you through basics of whatever insurance requires you to do. They actually want to know what you want to be able to accomplish again. And then when you get through the recovery phase, or even hopefully before you have to go through a full surgery or anything like that, a good physical therapist is going to help you prepare your body rather than having to just repair. And Preston has an amazing way of doing both. You touch on both things, whether that's reparations for someone that has gone through an injury, a surgery, whatever it may be, and then other ways you touch on with people that are young, that are going to be shooting their bows and want to shoot them for years and years and years, and don't want to end up with a shoulder like John Dudley, where he's grinding away at multiple surgeries and issues with his shoulder because he's been shooting a bow for so long, and didn't have a Preston in his life. So what's something, I guess, that you want to hit on to start off with for people that are maybe getting into archery, getting into hunting? What would be some advice that you would give them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest word of advice, I guess I'd say, is I kind of harp on this, but like taking the time to invest in your health if you're whatever you're focusing on. In our world, we're going to talk about hunting, performance, archery, things like that. You can put a lot of money towards gear and everything else like that, and it's not uncommon to drop $2,500 on a full setup for a bow and stuff like that. And so a drop in the hat of a simple evaluation and things like that can go a really long way. There's a lot of good programs out there and stuff, and a lot of good trainers and things like that. But having that extra, doctorate of physical therapy, and where we really understand the pathology as well as the pharmacology and the imaging and everything like that makes up ailment, we'll say, and then the treatment for it is really important. So it's not just a matter of like, oh, here's some exercises. I'll say exercise, hands down, is one of the best things you can do for injury prevention, maintenance, longevity. Actually, there's some really good studies that support people who are stronger just simply live longer. So if you can't do anything, go lift weights and you'll probably live longer than someone else who doesn't. So staying healthy that way. And I think it's really been fun to see the shift of, maybe not even the shift, but yeah, the shift. If you look back like 10 or 15 years ago, there wasn't this much, and maybe it's because of the knowledge and information that we have if we're living in this information age, but there wasn't the YouTube videos, there wasn't the information out there. And so people weren't maybe putting as much emphasis on exercise in regards to hunting. Now, I always say that, hunters, I guess I've kind of coined the term mountain athletes, right? So hunters are mountain athletes. We're athletes just like a baseball player or a basketball player is an athlete. And we put our bodies through very rigorous, events, very rigorous forms of torture, fun, whatever you want to call it, type 2 fun, really. And so people who are really, anyways, that shift happened 10, 15 years ago, and you see Cam Hanes and all those people doing it. But now you see a lot more, and you see a lot more of these companies. First Phorm's a great example. First Phorm Outdoors, where they have this huge emphasis on getting people outdoors and active and stuff like that, and kind of the supplement line to support that. So it's cool to see that kind of shift, and now this information and stuff towards the athletes. And so my advice is, when you're young, like really take advantage of that. But I think tailor-made programs, like I said, there's a lot of programs out there, but really tailoring it to you as an individual, whether you have a tight rotator cuff, whether you've torn an ACL, whatever it is, it's really important. So there's some good exercises that everyone can do. Lift weights and you'll live longer, but let's tailor it to you. And then on that same, I guess going to the opposite side of the spectrum, it's been really fun this last year to see all these 70-year-old. I had a 76-year-old patient come to me and say, hey, I'm going on my first elk hunt at 76. Like,
Wow.
and I'm like, okay, we got a lot to work on, right? We got to adapt to altitude, look at your lung capacity, strength, everything else like that, and your cardio. We can do this. He's like, but I want to do it with my bow. Okay, well, we got to work on your rotator cuff. We got to work on all these things. And so now we're seeing this, these very young, fit athletes, but we're also seeing these older individuals who are trying to stay in the sport, who love the sport so much. And so that's really cool. So really across the whole spectrum, whether you're younger or whether you're older, like physical therapy is there for you. And really here at Mountain Physio, what we do is specifically for the archer and hunter. And so, whether it's me or not, find, someone who's your specialist who can take you to that next level and knows injury rates, knows how to prevent things as well. So anyways, maybe that's a lot of advice. Maybe I was too long-winded, but I think really, take care of yourself. Exercise.
No, yeah, I agree. And honestly, guys, Preston's going to be humble and say go find a specialist. Like if you have someone that you've got a good relationship with, because I do understand Preston is not the only physical therapist out there, but he is the best. So when it comes to especially with mountain stuff, if you're going on a hunt, if you're wanting to stick with archery, I mean, come on, he works with the USA archery team. So he's going to be humble and say, go find a specialist. Again, if you have someone that's got a relationship with you that you genuinely trust, that obviously is giving you good results, awesome. If not, hit Preston up and he's going to help you out because he's going to keep you rolling. And again, I mean, if being picked by the USA archery team to work with them isn't enough of an accolade in and of itself, you could go down a list of hunters that people would recognize that you work with, that you keep them in the field on a regular basis through whether it be cupping, needling, stretches, work at their house, routines, exercises, things. And a lot of them are physically fit. They're physically fit dudes. But we forget as even if you are a gym rat, maybe you're someone that does go to the gym 5 to 6 days a week, if not 7, and your stuff, there's still little things that you can tweak here and there that are going to get you better. That's what Preston is good at. He's not going to tell you how to become a bodybuilder, but he's going to tell you how to be more stable when you're doing those overhead presses. He's going to tell you how to be more stable when your hip, instead of your hip flexors giving out on you, how you can prepare them for all that deadfall that you're going to more than likely go through because your buddy didn't e-scout very well. Things like that, or you didn't e-scout very well, whatever.
Exactly.
All the snow that you're going to walk through on those late season hunts, you don't think about that either. But when you're post holing, you're just as bad as deadfall on your hip flexor. So all of these things that you don't think about, but you're over there squatting 500-600 pounds, deadlifting, the same amount, and bench pressing 400 pounds. That's cool, but you still got to focus on the little things that are going to give you longevity, in the long term. So I'm just going to say it. Go to Preston if you don't already have a relationship with somebody. So, I've got a couple questions here before we dive into some of the cool stuff, because you're going to be coming out with some new programming and things along those lines that you're going to be launching at the Hunt Expo. So this is going to be coming out a week before the Hunt Expo. But I do have a couple of questions here. Some of them were not very productive, so I'm going to leave them off the because you always have those people on social media. But I've got one here. Well, I'm going to pick 3. We're going to give you 3. So the first one is, what do you feel best helps bow hunters recover? Cupping, deep tissue, Grayson tool, etc. Now, I'm not familiar with the Grayson tool, but apparently he knows what he's talking about. You're shaking your head. So
Grafton is what it's called, but
Grayson.
Grayson.
Okay, so I know
Grafton.
that one. Yeah.
So Grafton is actually a proprietary term for Grafton tools. So the actual technical term is instrument assisted soft tissue mobilization. So IA stim.
So that's that annoying butter knife looking thing.
Yeah, the Grafton. The Grafton thing
hurts.
and there's a lot of, exactly. So it's interesting because it shouldn't necessarily hurt, I'm going to say. So I'm going to jump on maybe a little soapbox about that. So it doesn't need to hurt. A lot of times people will jump on, even with cups, and get some really deep bruises and things like that. And they think the harder they push with those Grafton or those instrument assisted tools, the better. The whole idea and the whole purpose is to probably, we think maybe multiple theories, but one of them to desensitize the tissues. Another theory to bring blood flow to the area. So you don't necessarily need to just like, rake on people and stuff like that, where they're just, screaming and crying and stuff like that. It should be somewhat comfortable. Maybe not as comfortable as a nice massage, but it should be a little bit uncomfortable, but not that uncomfortable. So, anyways,
well, my
that's a good
experience
way.
with that, with the butter, I just call it the torture butter knife. But
Yeah,
the the Graston tool, it's the experience that I had with it was on my I think it was my shins and my calves that they were working on. So working that, like that tissue right there, that hurts. And so
yeah,
I'm like, I kind of understood, like, people that get tattoos on their shins are stupid at that moment. Like, it's not a very good place. It's like your ribs, like there's no tissue there. There's all nerves,
yeah,
nothing there to protect it. So that's why I'm saying that's painful. But I could also see, like, it can be something that's good because that same pressure can feel good in other areas, like on your feet for plantar fasciitis and things like that. It can help. But anyway,
yeah,
so what would you say? And he didn't specify what injury, so
yeah.
that kind of,
Yeah, I love the question, and we're just gonna kind of say the shoulder in general because I think it was specific to archery, right? So I love the question because there are a lot of modalities that people can do: ice, heat, Graston, cupping, right? Dry needling, massage, manipulations, chiropractic adjustments, acupuncture. There's a whole number of things. TANs. We could go down a whole rabbit hole of basically modalities. And I'll say, hands down, the research supports that for recovery, specifically active recovery, is probably the best. So I'm going to say you shoot, you're sore, you're a little bit fatigued. Maybe you have some DOMS in there. Maybe you've been lifting weights and you've got some DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, right? So maybe you're a little bit sore. The best form of recovery is an active recovery. So I'll oftentimes call it active recovery or active rest. Sometimes people come to me and they're like, okay, what can I do? And I'll say active rest. Now those are, two contradictory terms there. But the whole point of it is, like, yes, you want to rest injuries. So archery, if you're sore, if you're painful, like if you shot 200, 300, 400 arrows in a night and you just overdid it, really, you kind of gave yourself a tendonitis in a form. Resting is good, but activity is good too. So you need that active rest. And so is forms of massage, cupping, Graston, iastim, and things like that, they all have a very similar purpose as far as getting to the tissue, bringing blood flow, healing that way, reducing some pain. So I'd say you could use any form of those, but the key would be, and I'd say hands down the research supports, people who focus on active recovery. So meaning that if we'll say for the shoulders, we're going to say in the shoulders, that you did some benching, we'll say, and you were just, sore, you had that DOMS and stuff like that. The next day, probably the best thing to do is really some benching. Now, maybe you're not going to be benching, your body weight or 2 or 3 times your body weight, but grab a bar and just go through the motion, because what you're doing is then basically trying to kind of flush some of those knots, some of that lactic acid. You're trying to bring blood flow in an active pattern, and that's better. So it's actually interesting because there's some studies that look at people who focus specifically, so for pain reduction, who focus on passive treatments versus active treatments. And the individuals who focus on this active treatment have significantly less pain. So if you can do anything for yourself versus having stuff done to you, now it feels good to have a massage, it feels good to do all that stuff. And I do it all the time for people who are recovering. Like, I'll do a lot of needling. Needling seems to be very effective because I can get in a little bit deeper. But also I'll say that, like, needling, massage, all those sorts of things, if you look at, like, collectively the data, they help for shorter periods of time versus if you can get someone and enable them to exercise and be active, those have longer lasting results. So in a way, I'm going to answer that question of, like, choose your modality of choice as far as the Graston, the cupping, anything else like that, needling. If you have a specialist you can go to, right here, I do that, a lot of that stuff in person, then definitely hit me up. I'm happy to help you with that. But I'm also going to say, hey, let's do some exercises too. And now what is important though is you're doing, again, some of those similar movements. The benching is one, squatting if you're sore through your glutes and quads and stuff like that. Probably do some body weight squats, probably do some bands and stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. Those are definitely really good points there. And it's interesting that you talk about active recovery, because it's weird for people to hear active rest. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is like I just roll around a lot in my sleep. But the idea of active recovery, just getting the blood flow there, which blood flow in turn is that nutrient dispersion. Basically, you're able to get rid of lactic acid, process the nutrients that you need. As long as you're obviously eating properly, you're able to get the nutrients to the muscle bellies where they can recover. Also the tendons, which are non-vascular, things like that are harder to recover. Those are all the things that are really important with moving. It's one of those things that, and I use the analogy, I can't remember if I heard it from you or if we've talked about it or what, but the analogy of the door and the door hinge, and how, if you don't open a door for 5 years, you go to open that thing, it's going to be stiff, especially if you're in the South where there's humid and there's some humidity that's gotten that hinge. Like, it's going to be hard to open. And if it does, it's going to creak, it's going to push against you. It's the same thing with your body. If you don't move it, even if you're injured, you got to find ways to keep the blood flow there so it'll help recover. Obviously, to a certain degree, there's some injuries that probably are better left sitting still. But for the most part, you don't want to just become lazy and sit back because you got hurt. So I love that idea. Let's see. Number 2 here. Dealing with injury as you age, I have a rear delt rotator cuff strain that is taking months to recover. So rear delt rotator cuff. Okay. So basically the question mark came after dealing with injury as you age. So how, like, as people get older, even though we don't like to admit that we get older, you get older every year. It's harder to recover from past injuries. So what's something, that rear delt rotator cuff, what are some things, let's say top 3 things that you'd recommend to help recover from that?
So targeting specifically the rear delt and rotator cuff. So a lot of those you can do. So like the banded external rotation where you're going out, that's going to get a lot of the rotator cuff. It's going to get that posterior delt. In a same sense, arms now straight, bent over a ball or an exercise. So we call them in PT world like prone. So lying on your stomach, prone T's. So reverse flies, basically, any of that kind of deltoid work. And then I'm gonna stray a little on this one, but I'm gonna say Ys. So Ys are basically like lifting your arms overhead in a Y direction. If you were gonna say touchdown, right? That's kind of that same motion there. I'm going to do that because the reason why the Y is so important is it's really targeting a lot of that posterior deltoid, but a lot of that lower trap too. So the orientation of those fibers of the trap. The trap is really interesting. It's all one muscle, the trapezius, but we break it down into upper trap, middle trap, lower trap. Now they all fire at the same time, but what you can do is you can put a muscle in active insufficiency, basically, so where it's really short and so it's not going to fire as much, and so you can do it that way, or even passive insufficiency, but basically you put it in an insufficient position, but you can really maximize the position of the low trap because the way that the fibers are angled downward. And so I'd say a lot of those motions, but if you look at all 3 of those motions, they all have the same thing in common as far as a lot of this kind of scapular back work, I'm going to say. If you could, if people could just focus on their upper back and like these postural muscles more, a lot of people like to go to the gym and hit their, their chest and things like that. But I'd say for every, one time you do a bench, or a chest workout, hit two other exercises for your back because it's so important. Every now, especially in our day and age, we live in this kind of forward shoulder protracted position. And so if we can really strengthen that back, that rotator cuff included, that deltoid included, it would really help. So I'd say those exercises, if we're going to be specific on some exercises, and then again, just like some good, well, as far as dosage, I mean, I would do something like 3 sets of 15. I like that number. I like higher volumes of training. So maybe 3 sets of 15 with a little bit of lighter weight, bands, anything like that. I got bands on my website that I sell specifically for this, just because so people can have, a mixture of bands they can choose from. But the purpose of it is bands work really well at conditioning and building those. For this individual, said it's been going on for a few months and stuff like that, or a little
He's
while.
pretty fit. He's in the gym every day.
Is he?
He deadlifts. I mean, I just saw him. He was deadlifting over 400 pounds today. So he's pretty active and fit, gym rat kind of guy. Just a little nagging injury.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's what I see. Like, that's not uncommon. I'll say that these individuals, gym rats, a lot of the, I'm going to say, clientele that I work with, a lot of like the very high-end hunters and athletes in the field are very fit and trained. They still, like, if I test them, they are still weak through certain muscles, the rotator cuff being one of them. And so really targeting that rotator cuff is a good thing to do. You hit the rotator cuff when you exercise, when you do overhead press, when you do the T's, the Y's, they target different parts of the rotator cuff. And so you get the rotator cuff when you bench, all those sorts of things. But if you can really target it, I'd say target it first and then do those things.
Yeah, no, for sure. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then last question before we move on is, do you need a PTA?
Nice.
Are you hiring?
Trying to think of who that is. No, absolutely, we are hiring. I'm going to say I have multiple therapists that I have on my website and stuff like right now that we have hired actually, and so we're growing as a team. That's, I'll say, a challenge as any business starts to grow, like trying to navigate that whole thing. But I'm really excited for this future. And if you are interested, if you're a physical therapist, if you're a healthcare provider, we are looking at actually not just doing PTs in general. We're looking at other, healthcare disciplines within this, because like I said, my vision for Mountain Physio is truly to be kind of that ultimate comprehensive high-end clinic for athletes, for mountain athletes, for hunters, archers, you name it, people in the outdoors. And so if you're interested, yes, let's talk. Let's talk business.
Sweet. I'll let him know. He's a good dude. I can vouch for him on that. I haven't seen his work, honestly, but he's a good guy. So I imagine he does good work. But
that's been really cool to see, is all the people that have really reached out to us. And so I'm going to say, if we've been in through this growing phase and really kind of putting priorities on a few different things, but that this next year, not next year, this year, now we're January 2024, this year, we are making a huge emphasis on that, and that will be established significantly better and stuff. So yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, okay, so we've answered some of the questions I pulled from Instagram here. We've talked a little bit about archery, and things that you've done here, but walk us through kind of what your plan is, what you've got going on, what you're launching at the Hunt Expo, because you did a series, and I recommend people go check it out, with Dan Staten. You guys know I love Dan. He's awesome. Obviously, right here with the banner, that's his saying: separations in the preparation. He's a good friend and awesome dude. He walks the walk and he talks the talk. He does it all. And brought Preston up to Washington, and they filmed a series. They've got a couple videos out. I highly recommend you go check them out. They're not long, like hours long. It's just, 10, 15 minutes. Go check it out. Add it to your tool belt. Preston gives you a quick breakdown of some things you can add to get better for this upcoming season. But with that being said, you're launching some stuff at the Hunt Expo, which is here in Utah. It'll be in February. Recommend everyone go at least one day, and who knows, you could win a bison hunt.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
uh, but what do you have coming? What's going on?
Yeah, so this will be kind of the first time I get to really talk about this.
Well, let me go get my
I,
tie. Feel
yeah, right.
special. Yeah.
I alluded to it. I have actually over the last year as we've developed this more, and then with Dan as well. Like sitting down with Dan was super motivational for me. Like I think the world of Dan Staten. Really, I think he's just really the cream of the crop. Like you said, he walks the walk, he talks the talk, he practices what he preaches. And I think for me, it was eye opening the different types of elk shaped people there are. Like he really is
Mhm.
the epitome of elk shape, is what I would say. And
He's sheep hunter
it,
fit for elk.
yeah, seriously, exact. That's a good way of putting it. But he's really just down to earth. And like, I think some of my most memorable times up there hanging out with him, shooting was super fun, the podcast, the videos and stuff, but really just sitting down like with him at his kitchen table and talking like, hey, let's talk about how you are, how's your family, life, things like that. We got onto this religion uh, topic, which was really actually pretty fun for all of us and stuff, and he answered some questions and everything like that. And so it was really cool just to be there, kind of in a more personal manner. But he really encouraged me. So I've been working on a project for the last 2 years. I've had really since we've been in business 5, and kind of as I've been developing Mountain Physio, and as we kind of take this leading role in the outdoors realm, I'm going to say for rehab, injury prevention, those sorts of things. My It's been overwhelming to see how busy we have become and stuff, and so busy that it's hard to keep up, which is why we're hiring therapists and everything like that to keep up with the demands. But there's still this sense that's missing in the outdoor world. And so what we're launching, which is really exciting.
What's going on, guys? You might notice we have changed the tire since we had to cut the second half of the podcast. We had some technical difficulties that we needed to handle, and so I apologize for that. I hate that you guys are going to miss out on some of that amazing conversation that we had, but we want to dive into Preston's announcement that he's going to do at the Hunt Expo. So here on Thursday, this will be coming out on Saturday before the Hunt Expo. If you're not going to the Hunt Expo, you should. There's so many good things. I mean, Preston's won freaking bison hunts at this thing. And there's some amazing companies that you can go to and check out their stuff, get their gear in your hands. It is a direct to consumer as well type event. So there's so much just conservation, meeting people, getting to know gear. And of course, Preston's going to be speaking and doing this big announcement. So let's talk a little bit more about what you're going to be announcing on, at the Hunt Expo.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that little short introduction. And um, so what we're doing is we're launching actually we're launching a few different things, which is pretty exciting and pretty fun. But the main thing is something that we've been working on. I've been working on. I've had this thought for about 2 or 3 years now. Um, Mountain Physio has been established for now 3 years, actually, or gosh, 3 years. It's been established for 5 years coming up this March. And then this Hunt Expo, we're launching what's called Mountain Physio Academy. And so it's an online educational platform, which I'm really excited about because uh, it's ultimately, we've seen the success with our Mountain Physio athletes and individuals who are just seeking that information. And so Mountain Physio Academy is going to basically bring that all together, everything that we've done, all the programs and everything over the years, and um, put it together and really uh, put it on an educational platform for people to learn and stuff. So I'm super excited. I'll say this, like, really to date, there's nothing else out there like this. There are some, exercise programs, and there's some classes and things like that, universities and stuff. But Mountain Physio Academy, I'll say, it's more than just an exercise program. It's truly like it's a platform to elevate your health. And so it's a healthcare platform for athletes, for hunters, for backcountry enthusiasts. So I'm pumped about it. Like I said, we've been working on this for over 2 years. Had the thoughts, been videoing everything, working overtime, all these hours. It has over 100 videos of content for education and stuff. And so more than just exercise, it's talking about like, for instance, healthcare and health in general. So pretty exciting.
Well, there's a newbie thing there. I just muted myself and started talking. So with 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 everything going on with the Mountain Physio Academy, and guys, honestly, Preston he's one of those guys that, and I'm trying to remember if I've said this already in the podcast or not, but I'll say it again because it needs to be harped on here. Preston's a really good dude. Very overall, just great guy. Loves his family, loves the outdoors. Very passionate about what he does as well. He's not one of those physical therapists that is in it for a paycheck or in it for, I've worked with some, but you can just tell they're just burned out. They're doing the same thing day in and day out, and they're not enjoying their jobs anymore, which is sad because physical therapy is so important for so many reasons, to help prevent injury, which is something that you work a lot on, which I appreciate, the prevention of injury. But even after you have gotten injured and finally have been humbled on the mountain or in the gym or wherever it was, and you need some help getting back on your feet, Preston's there as well. And it's sad that physical therapists have kind of, at least some of them that I know get burned out. And it is sad because they do such great work. But Preston is just passionate about what he does. That's why he's throwing together the Mountain Physio Academy, which I'm super excited about because there's going to be so many different options for different people, different walks of life. Again, if you want to be, someone that runs the mountains and is a freaking mountain goat and hunting and hiking and all that stuff, awesome. And if you're just someone that wants to be, at a certain level where you can play with your grandkids and not be in pain, and maybe you've had a nagging shoulder injury ever since you played, softball in, I don't know, in the adult league that you played softball in, whatever it was. There's so many different things that your academy is going to be, it's going to be helpful for. And so I guess kind of walk us through some of the things that you're going to be doing with the Mountain Physio Academy.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you very much. It's, like I say, it's more than just an exercise program. And what I mean by that is like, there's definitely exercise components to it, but ultimately I heard this the other day as we've been preparing for this, is someone said, I was telling them about the academy and they're like, Preston, you're not just giving a man a fish, you're truly, teaching them how to fish. And that's exactly what it is. I thought that was a good analogy. Is that's exactly what we're doing. Is I teach people the ways of rehab, of recovery, of training. And so ultimately what we're seeing, which is really exciting, is individuals who are picking up a bow late, or even just hunting in general. I shouldn't even say a bow, but people who are picking up a bow or hunting, they're not starting until they're 55, 60 years old even. They just want to get out and enjoy the outdoors. They love it. And so, but what happens is I've had countless experiences where they've tried some of these other programs out there, programming exercises, and it's just too much and they get hurt. And so then what it does is a good thing becomes a negative thing. So a good thing of exercise becomes negative, and then they can't do what they want to do. And so ultimately what I'm trying to do with Mountain Physio Academy is ensure that people elevate their health through the remainder of their life and be able to hunt for the rest of their lives. So that's at the Hunt Expo. I have a seminar, 2 seminars actually, that's on this very topic of like making sure that we're doing the right things, the right exercises, performing the right, stretching, mobility, recovery, rehab techniques to continue to hunt for the rest of their life. I love hunting so much. I love just the outdoors. And ultimately, I think like, I was thinking about this the other day. I went for a hike and I'm like, I don't even like need a hike with my bow. I love hiking with my bow, and I love bow hiking, I should say, which I do a lot of when I'm hunting. It's just bow hiking. But I love that, but I just love being out there and watching wildlife and stuff like that. And I think all of us are. And so if you took that away from me, like it would be devastating, right? And so I have clients come to me actually who are in their 70s, 80-year-olds. I had an 82-year-old come to me, and he was seeking physical therapy because he wanted to go bow hunting. He wanted to go archery elk hunting. And I'm like, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. And so anyways, that's what the Mountain Physio Academy is. And so more than just training, more than just exercise, more than just a program like that. So part of it, and I'll say I keep saying it's more than just exercise. It's a healthcare platform because part of it is truly taking it to the next level of talking about your mental health and your physical health. So then also like weight management comes up, knowing your blood pressure, how to reduce your blood pressure, how to reduce your heart rate, right? How to do all these things that we have really good data for, meaning we know that higher blood pressure puts you at higher risk of cardiovascular disease and really premature death. And so if we can really manage that from an early perspective, then we can keep people doing what they love. And so that's why part of Mountain Physio Academy is really making sure we address those things. And so super cool. I'm super pumped about that. Another thing is really diving into, and we have actually multiple courses. We're launching the master class, which will basically take anyone, get them into the mountains, teach them the principles to be able to hunt. Especially here in the West, there's some specific criteria that you want to see. But ultimately, we have dozens of actual courses that we're building right now that we'll be launching this year even. And they focus on specifically like back pain. So if you have back pain, the masterclass discusses that and how to address back pain. But ultimately, there's also these more in-depth classes that you can get as well. And so really diving into everything like that. And so that's what I'm super excited about. Like that will be a really big asset to hunters and outdoorsmen. And so definitely geared towards, the masterclass is geared towards hunters, backcountry enthusiasts, athletes and things like that. But there's so many components to it and stuff. And so what's been really cool is to see all the partners on board. I'll tell you, this is a really cool thing actually is, so that's kind of the content of the course. For the Hunt Expo specifically launching it, we're doing a huge giveaway with like some of the best brands and biggest brands. And I've told them about this and had these, business meeting conversations and stuff. And they're on board with it and stuff. And so, which has been really exciting. So we're giving away, actually, it's a package of over $8,000 of gear that, so it's like Swarovski binoculars, it's, marsupial gear, it's tricer, tripods, it's all in, it's, it's so many different things, mountain oaks, badlands, everything. Like there's so much stuff in this, which is really exciting. With people that have just really seen the value of what physical therapy can do. And so I'm really excited about that. But what I was going to say is at the end of each masterclass, at the end of each course, when people complete it, so built within the system, there's a lot of discounts and things like that people can get on gear and everything. But as they complete these courses, they can then turn in some of these certificates to these companies and they get rewards through those companies. And so really a cool platform that I'm really excited about that. And that's going to be, again, unique to Mountain Physio Academy.
No, that's awesome. That is really cool. And people love a good giveaway, but really it's to bring eyeballs to what you've got going on. I'm trying to remember if we got to this part or not, but I'm going to say it again: make physical therapy sexy again, right? That's what we want to get through here, because we kind of talked about this, we've alluded to it in a certain part of our conversation where people don't want to talk about preparation. The gym isn't necessarily fun or sexy. The the nutrition behind it is even not, is even less so. Physical therapy, no one wants to, like, if you're going to lift weights, people want to go and lift heavy weights and look cool and, big and buff. They don't think about getting some bands off of your site and working their rotator cuff. And what's crazy is how many professional athletes, and you work with some people that I would consider professional athletes that are literally professional hunters and guides that you work with, that are still weak in certain areas, like the smaller areas that you don't think of, even though they are constantly on the mountain, beating the crap out of their body, and in the gym when they're not on the mountain, training so they can be better on the mountain. They're still weak in some of these areas that it's very common for a lot of people to be weak in, with your shoulder, especially as bow hunters. You want to have a strong shoulder. You want to be able to have good hip flexors, especially when you're out in the mountain, whether it be in the snow or deadfall, whatever it is. You don't want your hip flexors giving out on you or getting stiff. those things that you don't think about until you're using them, and then you're like, oh crap,
Yeah.
I should have worked with
Yeah.
Preston. Like,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And that's and also, sorry to interrupt there a little bit, but that's exactly why we built this platform is so Mountain Physio Academy takes all that information, it puts it into really good, realistic, easy to comprehend videos. Like I said, there's over 100 of them in just the Mountain Physio Academy masterclass. And then what it does is with every basically subscription, there is an additional. So with every subscription, there's an annual health screen or health evaluation with me. So with me or with one of the multiple physical therapists, the doctors that I have working for me. So ultimately, like the value that you're getting with this course is incredible because not only of the perks of all the gear and stuff like that, but you get the course. And then, I mean, think about that for you to have an annual health screen with me, will say, where you're like, you know what, I'm going, I'm getting ready to go on this hunt. Everything's feeling great. I'm training, I'm doing all these things, but I'm a little bit tight here. What do I do? You use that, you use that health screen and we get, an annual health assessment, and then we follow up the following year and do things like that. And that's huge because ultimately it's adding, again, that annual evaluation with a doctor who understands your sport, who understands what ticks, what makes you tick, right? And that's what's super important. And so that's what I'm actually super proud about this Mountain Physio Academy. That is, again, it's not just an exercise platform that you just plug and play. It's an actual health screen, healthcare platform that you can really elevate your health that way. And so that's what I keep saying. Like, elevate your health. Like, this is important. Hunting is important to me. I know it's important to you. Being outside is important. And ultimately, what I'm trying to do with this is give people the opportunity and the ways and the tools to make sure that they reduce, overall diseases and things like that, so that they can continue to do what they love and be with their friends and family. So I'm passionate about it. I'm super excited about that. I think it's going to be, and the amount of people that have reached out and truly been in my corner as I've been putting this together has been just remarkable. Because people, and I think the reason why is because people have got hurt other ways. They want to continue to do this, and they see the value of it. And so that's one really exciting principle of this course.
Yeah, for sure. No, I couldn't agree with you more. It's something that is super important for people to to be prepared, to get prepared for whatever their adventure is going to be. Even if, and guys, you may think this is weird, but if you're a pro fisherman, if you're a bass fisherman, if you're someone that
Yeah.
enjoys doing anything basically in life that has to do with your body moving, you should be working with and at least getting checked every once in a while, like you said, a health screening, and then working the things that are more likely to deteriorate sooner. I mean, and I'll just ask people that are listening here, how many people do you know that have either had a shoulder surgery or are constantly complaining about shoulder pain, lower back pain, hips, and knees? Out of all
Yeah.
those four, I highly doubt that people don't know at least a handful of people that constantly complain about those issues or have
Yep.
gone through that themselves. And that's because those things get beaten up consistently, especially if you use them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't take the time to heal them and to get back to, what you need to do, which, something that you discussed, that there's studies showing that although it is good to rest some days, also it can be really good for you and very beneficial to have that active recovery where,
Yep.
like, I think the example that you used previously was, benching, for example. Everyone likes to bench, it can be
Yeah.
good if you're done properly. But if you go and you max out one day, not one rep max, but you do really heavy loads, you're in that 3 to 5 rep range and you're just tearing the muscles apart, then it's really beneficial to go back the next day and just take the bar and go through the motions. Get the blood flow actively going in there to help break up that lactic acid, help the nutrition that you're eating. Hopefully you're eating well if you're working out good.
Yep. Yeah.
Take that nutrition and transport it back to the muscles so that they can recover the proper way. And that's
Yep.
what you do as well. You
Yep.
do some of the passive stuff, but also you highly recommend that people are active in their recovery as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. No, I think you couldn't have said it better. And really all those principles are found in the Mountain Physio Academy Masterclass. So it's really just a huge asset to individuals, hunters, outdoorsmen, things like that, that are just passionate about their health. And I think what I was thinking about this as we were getting ready to redo this is something that's I think needed that we see is there's so many people who are, experts, we're going to say, in fitness and health and things like that, or because they love to exercise or they, those things. And that's good. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't encourage fitness and health and things like that, because everyone should be. And we know the benefits now of exercise and fitness and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, what can happen is when you have individuals who are, uh, maybe these influencers or anything like that, who jump up on their soapbox and they tell people to do something because it's helped one person, that's where we get into a little bit of muddy water, um, because ultimately they're professing something that may not be the actual best for other people, and where injuries can happen and stuff. And so I always encourage exercise and fitness, but it's really kind of doing the right things and rehabbing the recovery and exercise and all those things that play into it. And so that's why we've really built another part of the academy is an actual like proprietary algorithm that we've come up, that we've tested with a lot of athletes to see like what their numbers are, because more than just using, this is a good exercise that I like, what does the actual science and data show, and how does that relate to hunters? And so that's what's so cool, I think, about this Mountain Physio Academy as well, is the masterclass covers all that. And so we're really trying to be scientific. And so in this class, in this healthcare platform, this course, people will get some information that some people would say, I need to, dumb it down and things like that. But I think ultimately what I want to do is I want to give everyone the science and the literature so that they can understand, hey, when my heart's pumping, the atrium's doing this and the ventricle's doing that. I haven't dive into it that much, but in a sense, I kind of do with certain things, specifically muscles and bones and joints and stuff like that. But it's important for people to understand so that they can have a better understanding of how to rehab, how to recover, and why that's important. So,
Exactly. It's again, it's not something that people want to talk about consistently, and that's unfortunate. But also, there's people like yourself and me and others that are, more, I guess, inclined to go to the gym and take care of their bodies. Um, we don't always, and it's obviously prevalent on your mind, so maybe you're not a good example, but people that do get out and they take care of their bodies don't always necessarily think about the aspect of just those smaller things that need to be taken care of and need to be maintained, or even could be strengthened, which can increase your quality of life. I mean, there's one thing just for me, for example, that I was having some lower back pain a couple years ago, and I was like, man, like, I did all what I thought lower back stretches. I'd go to the chiropractor and kind of get stretched out and stuff like that. And then I went to a chiropractor that kind of was less of a turn and burn chiropractor and more of a mobile, like almost blended between physical therapy and chiropractic, where he didn't just focus on the bones, but he also focused on the tendons and ligaments and everything else going on there. And he just worked on my mobility a little bit and was like, he was like, well, your external mobility is pretty good. And then he went to go do my internal mobility on my my right leg, and he was like, stop resisting me. And I'm like, I'm not resisting. And he was like, that's horrible. That's what you need to work on. Like,
yeah, yep,
and he
yeah,
sent me home with some homework, and I haven't stopped implementing them. I was doing them every single day. Now I do it like 3 times a week, but hip
yeah,
mobility. And guess what? My back pain went away because that IT band that can't come up and, wraps around everything. Sorry, not the IT band. It was, shoot, what's the name of the one? I need to brush up on my anatomy, but the one that attaches like crosses and doing internal rotation helps to stretch it out. That's not the IT band. There's There's another one. Anyway,
Performance. Anyways, I don't know.
no, yeah, well, it was another
I don't
longer
know.
one. Anyway, long
Yeah.
story short, it had nothing to do with my back necessarily. It was a leg muscle and tendon that attaches to the lower back. That the internal rotation, stretching that out, getting that more mobile, helped my squat increase. My squat form was better, and it also helped. Sitting at a desk, I didn't have the back pain anymore.
Yeah.
So it's little things like that that is good to go to someone like Preston and someone that's educated, someone that knows what to look for, knows what questions to ask, knows how to work the body and how the body should properly work, and then help you, send you home with some homework. Then obviously you've got to do the homework. But that's
Yep.
what the Mountain Physio Academy is all about, is just
It is.
providing you the knowledge. So now, like you said, teaching a man to fish, and now they can go catch all the fish they want because
Yep.
they feel better. So
Yep. Exactly. And that's exactly what that's why I was like, this needs to happen because again, there's yet to be anything like this in the hunting industry. So that's why I'm really excited to launch at the expo. We have multiple tiers of memberships, whether it's annual, lifetime, and then monthly. And so things to really help people out. Again, I think the greatest asset built within the course is all the education, but ultimately it's having these annual health assessments so that you can use that and really stay on the mountain. And so I have multiple therapists working for me, and I'm just really excited to take it to the next level. And I think like I kind of been posting a lot lately of like, I'm super excited for the giveaway, the partners and everything, but ultimately I'm excited to see how this really changes people's life and keeps them doing what they love. And last night we were kind of just finishing up a few little things for this expo, and I just really want to say thank you to everyone that supports me and supports this and this movement, because it truly is going to elevate people's health. And I think it's going to really change the game for hunters, for outdoorsmen, of letting them understand what they need to be doing to live longer and enjoy this passion of ours, for the rest of their life. And so I'm super excited. And again, so much work has gone into this entire platform, and I appreciate you letting me be able to share it on here.
Of course. Yeah. So, guys, with that being said, things are going to launch at the Hunt Expo. Keep your eyes open for that. If you are not signed up for Preston's email list, you can be the first ones to know about this. Definitely go and sign up for that. We'll leave the links for that down below. If you're at the Hunt Expo, make sure you stop by. He's going to be there speaking. Do you know what time you speak?
Yeah, so I speak on Thursday and I speak on Friday. We have door prizes and stuff for that. So come for that if you're listening to this now. Um, we also have one if you we'll have a big archery bundle there as well for people to win. So dialed sights and things like that, just huge packages, really. So we have that with our seminar Thursday and Friday. I can look here and we can put that down in the description of when they are. Right? I think. Or do you want me to look right now? I can look right now.
No, it's all good. So just, we'll put it down below where you guys can see everything at the Hunt Expo
Yeah.
with
Again,
Preston.
I'll say this. Sorry, that huge exciting thing. Like I said, we've partnered with awesome companies and have a giveaway package of over $8,000. It's like $8,300 with all these awesome this awesome gear for the first 250, 300 subscribers. So whether you're in person at the expo, when we hit launch on Thursday at 8 a.m., it's going to go live. Like we want to really help people win this package, but we want to elevate their health, and it's going to be exciting. I'm really excited for that. So anyways, pay attention to that.
Heck yeah. No, that's really exciting. So guys, check it out. I'm going to leave the links down below where you can find all of that, get all that information in. Go check out Preston's site. Go check out, his social media, what he's got going over there, the messages that he gives. He's just provided so much to the outdoors community in general, and has given so much and continues to educate and uplift the community. So for that, we definitely appreciate you, Preston. You're an awesome individual, but you're also very knowledgeable, and you love sharing that and helping others elevate their game. So really, really appreciate that. Also, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before, but Preston works with the USA Archery team. So if that doesn't tell you that he knows what he's talking about, then, maybe you should just go ahead and tune out. But with
We
that being
bet
said,
we better we
I'm
better
going to
win
leave the
we better
links.
win. Which I was going to say,
Oh,
we
go
better
ahead.
win some medals. We better win some medals this year in Paris for the Olympics. So
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. With that being said, guys, I'm going to leave all the links down below. Go check it out. Thanks so much, Preston, for coming on here. We will see you guys at the expo. I'm really excited. If you're there, come find me. I'm going to be bouncing around all over the place. So hopefully, if you see me, stop me. I'm more than happy to shake hands and everything. Preston's the same way. Stop him and talk to him, and he would love to meet you. So with that being said, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a fantastic rest of your day. And of course, get out, live your life, and love it.